Hello, and welcome back to my channel where we make life happen for us instead of to us, and I talk about how we can do that. And today, I want to talk about how we can actually change our lives. And again, I'm sorry if I sound weird. I am recording this the same day that I am sick, so just bear with me. I think this video especially is really, really important, so I just wanted to get it out there. Okay, moving on. So I was watching a video from a creator named Hala the other day, and I found what she said to be life-changing, and I thought it would be helpful in helping you make life happen for you or in helping you reach your goals or get the life that you want, and I wanted to share what I got from it. Now to preface this, Hala talks about manifestation, and manifestation it's essentially like brain hacking, or like self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it's a bit more involved than it sounds, but it's getting your brain to focus on getting the things that you want, so much so that your subconscious starts to understand the things that you want and help you bring it about. Because your brain is always going to find ways or force ways to confirm what you already believe or what you're already thinking about or focused on constantly. Now, initially, I was turned off by her video because her analogies sounded kind of nonsensical. So she started off by saying that the life that we see, our 3D, is like a man. And our inner world or our self-concept is like a woman or like us, or like, I guess if you're a man, this would be reversed. Anyway, and that we have the life that we have because we don't love ourselves. And y'all, I won't lie, like the connects were not connecting and I wasn't getting it and I clicked off. But then I watched another video that was kind of talking about self-love and how it helps us to get the things that we want. And it opened up my mind a bit and I was like, okay, so maybe there was something to what Hala was saying. And I went back to her video. So essentially, what Hala was saying was that we have the life we have because this is what we are accepting, or this is what we accept as our standard of life. So whether we have things in our life that we like or don't like, we have it because this is what we accept as our standard. Now, bringing it back to the man and woman thing, because I think this will tie it together. She was essentially saying that if you are romantically involved with someone who isn't treating you right, that's on you, right? Because you allowed that person into your life because your standards were low enough that they could enter. Now, when you realize that you don't want that anymore, let's say, you want a partner who treats you right and does like X, Y, Z, your standards change. And when your standards change, you don't go back and try and change that person, right? I mean, like you can try and do that, but you can't change people. So what do you do instead? You drop that one and you get romantically involved with a new person who meets your standards. So essentially, we set the standards for fulfillment. Similarly, bringing it back to our lives, right? We have the lives that we do, or the 3D, or the reality that we do, because of the standards we set for ourselves. When our standards change, we don't go back and try and change the 3D. We can't change that. So what do? We drop that one and we get a new one, a new life, a new reality, a new 3D that matches our standards. Now here's the life-changing part, the how we do that. So Hala had mentioned 4 questions to ask ourselves, and we're going to do this now, or at least what I want you to do is I want you to write these questions down so that you can reflect on them later when you have time, if you don't have time now. Okay. So the first question is, what is this world giving me? And then you write down all of the things it's giving. So the good, the bad, the things you like, the things you don't like, but especially the things that you don't like. So I want to share some examples of things that I had put. So as I mentioned, you list like both the good and the bad, or things that could be better. So some of the good things I put are, I have the ability to live in my desired climate. I have a loving, caring partner and loving, caring in-laws. I don't have to work to support myself, like directly trade my time for money like that. And I have all of my limbs and senses. Okay. Now for the bad things or the things for improvement, some things I put are stubborn weight that won't seem to budge. It seems that I'm locked in with the income I have now, like I can't seem to make more. And then that I'm renting and, the rent raises. So I want to own a home so that doesn't keep happening. So you can use this as an example of things you can put. I just shared this as an example, but now I'm going to move on to the next question. The next question is going to be, what do I believe about myself that would make these things true? Now, this is why I said what I watched had changed my life, because then I started to get why Hala said that the things we have now is what we wanted. It's our beliefs, our standards for ourselves. And I honestly did not realize that there were some things that I was believing that would make true the life that I'm living now. So I'm going to share some examples in case it helps, some examples of like things I wrote down. And full disclosure, I'm going to be kind of vulnerable here. Like doing this, when you start doing it, it does kind of hurt, but I think it'll help. So in terms of, I'm just going to share what I thought was the most important or impactful things I wrote down. This is what I said. So for stubborn weight loss, I said that I believe that controlling my weight was out of my control. That's what I was believing about myself. For the locked in income that I mentioned, I said I believe that my skills weren't valuable enough to exchange money for, and that I don't believe I'm worth the amount of money I want, and that I don't believe I can offer enough value outside of someone else. Like, I'm only valuable when I'm helping someone else make money. I can't do that for myself. So this is what I mean by like going through this, it kind of hurt. In terms of renting, I said, like, I don't believe that I have good timing or good luck because I decided to come back to Jamaica when things were significantly more expensive, and now I'm priced out of buying a home. So this is a question where you really want to take some time and think through it, because we really want to try and get to the heart of the negative things that we are believing about ourselves. Okay, now moving on to the next question. The third question we want to ask ourselves is, what do I want? Or what is my desire? And we want to be specific and clear with this. And something that I think is important to add here as well, which I talked about in my last video, are constraints. So this is something that Dan Coe talked about in one of his videos, but essentially, when we have a goal in mind, there are realistically things that we are not going to want to do to reach it. So for example, if the goal is to make a certain amount of dollars, our constraint may be that we want to do that without sacrificing time with family, which means, not working on weekends or only working a certain amount of hours per day or per week. And what the constraints do is it helps our brain be more efficient. Now, I talked about this in my last video as well, but when we are being specific, it is very important to be specific with what we want, why we want it. We want to have those constraints that I just talked about, and we want to have a time frame. All of this will help our brain focus better on what we want and do so more efficiently. Okay, and then after we've written out the things that we want, the last question here is, what would have to be true within myself for this desire to be true? Or what do I need to believe about myself for this to be true? So this is almost like the second question flipped. And then we just, write our answers here. And I will share with you some examples of, what could be written. So what I did was I all of the things I listed, I kind of listed the opposite of them. I'll explain. So for like losing weight or being a particular weight, right? I said before that I didn't believe that I was in control. So for here, I said for losing weight, I would need to believe that I'm capable of controlling my weight, that I value my appearance, and that I'm selective with what I eat. For getting to my desired income goal, right, instead of being locked in, I said I would instead need to believe that I am valuable enough and that my skills are valuable enough and that I offer things valuable enough to make money on my own. And then for getting a home, I said I'd need to believe that I am lucky. In order for, you know, my desire to be true, I need to believe that I am lucky enough to find good deals or be put in situations where, something like this can happen for me exactly the way I want, regardless of how much money I have. Okay, so those are the examples I'll share. I hope those were helpful. Now I'm going to go back to what I was saying because I'm almost done. We are not done yet. There's still one more thing that we need to do. Okay, so now that we've written out our answers to all of these questions, and now that we know especially what would need to be true about ourselves for our desires to happen, all we have to do now is assume those things to be true about ourselves. And there are different ways we can do this, right? I can talk about this more deeply in another video if you want, but what we are going to do is work to embed those new beliefs, work to embed this in our subconscious like those other beliefs were. So to give a quick list, there are 3 ways that we can do this. Number 1 is through repetition, so repeating these new beliefs to ourselves. So this could be things like affirmations, so reminding ourselves of those new beliefs, of like who we are now, and repeating those beliefs as often as we need to. So this could be like morning and night, morning, noon, and night, writing it over and over for a certain amount of times over a certain amount of days, stuff like that. And the affirmations would be like, or they could be like those beliefs that we just mentioned. Like for example, me saying like, I'm capable of controlling my weight. That would be an affirmation, and that would be something that I would repeat to myself over and over as often as it takes. Okay. And in terms of repetition, there's not just affirmations, there are ask-formations. So this is, asking ourselves why an affirmation is true and then answering it truthfully, right? So let's say, let's go back to the weight loss one, right? And let's say my affirmation is, why am I able to control my weight? Right. And then I would write things like, oh, I have control over the things that I choose to eat. Or, oh, like I'm actually not that hungry throughout the day. I just eat sometimes because I'm bored and I don't have to do that anymore. I have control over what I put in my mouth. So like you see where I'm going with this. But the more we repeat a thing, the more our brain starts to notice it and then believe it to be true. And that's one of the reasons that even companies, right, they'll repeat things multiple times and you may not even notice it. But they are, doing this repetition for marketing purposes so that we get their company in our minds. And even with propaganda, especially with propaganda, repetition is very important for that because there are studies that show that the more something is repeated, the more likely we as humans are likely to believe it. Okay, so the next way that we can assume our new beliefs is visualization. So this is imagining ourselves being that person, like in first person view, not third person view, right? Like directly imagine ourselves being that person with those beliefs, like what they'd be like, how they'd behave, the types of things we'd see. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like we're seeing it. It could be like audio, like thinking about the type of conversations we'd have. One thing that I noticed that I like to do, and I do this now every morning and sometimes I do it at night, is I like to imagine that it's the end of the year. I have reached all of my goals that I wanted. And it's like I'm recalling or remembering all of the good things that happened during the year. So, like, I'm imagining, okay, like, I'll say something like, I remember when I would look in the mirror or I'd step on the scale and I'd see my weight coming down. I remember when um, I could feel my clothes becoming looser and feeling kind of confused by that, especially because the weight seemed to be coming off so easily, like stuff like that. For me, doing it that way helped me to visualize when I act like I'm remembering. But there are different ways that you can visualize, and I guess this is also part of repetition because you do want to do this fairly often, right? If you're using visualization. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the last one. One of the last ways we can assume being someone with our new beliefs is by acting or pretending. So, like, you ever hear fake it till you make it? It's essentially the same thing here. So, it's essentially becoming a character with those new beliefs. So, we want to act like that person every day, or at least in the instances where our new beliefs are relevant, we want to put on that person and act like them. It's like, when Beyonce was Sasha Fierce on stage, right? Like her pretending to be someone else eventually helped her become more comfortable on stage. And now she doesn't even need to pretend anymore, right? Like she embodies that version of herself now. One tip when it comes to becoming like a character or like pretending to be that person that I've heard is to have a trigger. So a trigger is something that helps you get into a role into the role, like a physical object. So this could be like putting on glasses. One of my triggers is putting on headphones, right? When I put on headphones, I'm assuming this new person, this new business character. I'm in the zone, and I'm a different person. I'm the person with those new beliefs, and that just doing that helps me get into the role. So you could try that as well as if you want. Um, and now one thing I do want to call out, I do want to give a special call out to what I'll call thought banishing. So I guess this is a fourth bonus. So this is when we are noticing that we are thinking like our old beliefs, we stop ourselves and we replace it with one of our new beliefs or with an affirmation. Like, for example, someone who says, oh, they think to themselves, oh, like I really need a smoke right now. And then they stop themselves and think, no, I don't need a smoke. I'm not a smoker. I don't have these cravings. Now, that might be a bad example, but like you get the point here. It is noticing and then immediately and actively replacing an old belief with a new one. So you can do all of these things or just like one of them or mix and match, switch it up to you, whatever resonates, whatever you feel would be most helpful. You can try them out, try them all out, right? No harm done. But the point is to do these things regularly to remind yourself of those new beliefs of who you are now, which will then lead you to taking action as a person who has those new beliefs, because your brain, based on all of this information you're giving it, is going to find ways to bring about those new beliefs or prove them as true. And eventually, you won't even need to remind yourself of them anymore, right? Because it'll be in your subconscious and you will just be that person. And this is how you change your life. This is how you change your reality. And this is how you make life happen for you instead of to you, right? You figure out what your current standards are. So, like what life's been giving you, the beliefs that led you to what you have now. Then you decide what you want life to look like for you. You figure out what needs to be true about yourself for that life to happen. And then you assume that new version of yourself. So you become that new person using one of the techniques I mentioned, or, any other technique that you would like that would help you get into your new self. All right, so this has been a long video. That's all I got today. My head is a little woozy, but I hope that you found this information as life-changing as I did. And I hope that this video did give you some helpful, actionable information about how you can change your life. If it did, feel free to comment below and let me know. If you'd like to join a community where we are actively working to reach our dreams this year, I've created one that's free for right now. I don't know if it'll be free forever, but it's free for right now, and I've included that in the description. And if you like this content and want to see more of it, subscribe to this channel, yes, but also feel free to join my free newsletter so that you can get some of this helpful content straight to your inbox. All right, that is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.